Hello, foreign and domestic have an extent intelligence in all sides of criminal and civil cases, and the courts themselves and all tied to them, like Connecticut State Judicial Branch offices and corrections offices. Also colluded with names on all sides of a legal case in the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center towers in Manhattan that day, and before the World Trade Center attack, and since it, with people next to WFSB and Fox Connecticut News who are connected with wire crime acts and methods with them. And they also forced Saudis to collusions. And the Saudi attackers forced us to collusions. Our side's names rolls, that not us. In other words, you guys, when you guys are preventing mandated law, the interbranch uses switching names while stacking fake things in their databases. They use collusions with all communications locations because this breaching method before America's founders were born, it had a method that was use slash s of all locations slash s that no one realized while they were roles with those crazy laws that were entrenched. Fact sheet nature, torture, extortion, and slavery against every single person, including our founders, sickly distinctly before our founders were born. That was sustained against not just Native Americans, everyone. And it stayed being sustained against everyone, not just Native Americans. This is a difference, racketeering method worse than war crimes. So to speak, I am not a lawyer. All sides in criminal and civil cases, lawyers are the ones involved. And it was proven after the World Trade Center attack. In the court that day, legal papers had been post-dated from inside the Ninth Circuit Court by people that had WFSB attached me to fake conversations with themselves and with others about the World Trade Center while I caught them forcing a principal child abuser. Also, a stranger to me, Rick Cianfaglione, sought me out after he graduated. And the only time I other saw him was it has something to do with wire crimes and planting evidences with their teachers involved with the intelligence community and with people named O'Brien and Collusions who have wire crime acts and methods with them through the years. These are also people not realizing that their roles with no, these are multiple police departments with the same house slash S near me involved with wire crimes with police phones families and their extended family members that force Saudis to collusions with them and Weathersfield police forging and switching names, refusing to get on paper. They confessed the names Scalora involved with this and other people involved with further officers refusing to identify themselves and planting evidences involved with other natures of predicate acts and roles of poisons and guns and knife threats that are credible and with the people involved with the interbranch families, overt criminal enterprises, private ones, and body dumping spots increasingly tied to them. See, once they get on paper, you're going to realize every campus that we went to had people putting fake ties and fake natures of ties between all the kids. And then they're lying. In other words, on Facebook, they had to hide what was confirmed to me, which is also recorded roles with the body dumping spots used, as I noted. And rape threats. New Britain Superior Court have rape threats and other passion crimes as confirmations of their roles at West Hartford locations with I forgot his name, Eric Burgess, and others like Mark Violet and Justin Levinskis with military involved with the Collusions O'Brien, falsified police reports roles, and police roles planting evidences on all sides of kids' houses and campuses. And with further, as roles further with further names with a principal child offender. A whole bunch of people tied to Phil Collusions, recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved. Phil Collusions involved with whiting forensics through time. Also with Joshua Julian, also on the Facebook page of the campus of the principal child abuser as one of the names that forced that, with also KKK black themed and Confederate flag themed. Identity theft, fraud, slanders roles, federal evidence is crimes, roles of predicate acts on my street. As one of the people I know the names of, but I don't know them. His name was repeated to me by a Ray Clo and a Mark Violette, involved with inter-services. A whole bunch of people at Central Connecticut State University and Trinity College, and that live next to them, have roles of predicate acts with O'Brien, Collusions, intelligence families. They recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed people all along Two Rod Highway and Hangdog Lane. There's a Lenny Triglia who also sought me out to record, confess, demonstrate, confirm that his mother years ago. They have roles within foreign and domestic intelligence families and others like Mayano and Demoros Market, Isles Kitchen, near Hartford Hospital, and the other campuses associated with them. They have roles. I never had a class with Joe Demore or Joe Aiello. They had a fake exception with a summer school class that was me, Joe Demore, a Heather Hansen, and there was she had other boyfriends at the same time who were influenced to plant evidences with people involved with the World Trade Center attack, where they have roles. They have recorded roles with the Scalora confessions. They're one of the ones recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, planting fake things on and off campuses with Scaloras between campuses too that aren't even connected, and names next to campuses involved with medical corruption, where they're fabricating transcripts and evidences as collusions with uses remotely of all natures of investigators. Imagine how in other words, there's also relative to answers, where and how they got away with replacing, where and how we have black people's whites of eyes, and the breaching method clearer than day, which assigned nature's communications with that. They assign roles communicating other than nature for it, and for the breaching method used to measure and maintain roles, leaving the breaching method as a scientific value left out of reason. And so this breaching method knew. In other words, I was attached to fake conversations with WFSB about the World Trade Center attack. These are also people recorded involved with former director of the FBI, Robert Luskin, in his dependent capacities, also involved with his lawyer and with his co-defendants and their family members, and a whole bunch of people tied to them who were planting evidences in West Hartford and next to campuses, roles leading up to the World Trade Center attack. In that context, and since Connecticut had roles, these same names have roles with Washington, D.C., and they force Saudis to collusions. And the difference is simultaneously present next to the state corrections offices and next to the state judicial branch offices, as the people with the passion crimes with New Britain Superior Court, prosecutors and judges involved with federal evidences crimes with intelligence families on and off Central Connecticut State University on the sides of it. Covington Street names confirm this, and their roles with names next to Trinity College. Covington Street and in New Britain, Connecticut, next to Central Connecticut State University, and names on Zion Street in Hartford, Connecticut, and the Britain Avenue. All along the Britain Avenue, the news has roles with names from Wethersfield who have been involved with federal evidences crime rackets worse than war crime. Forgiveness is above, because A through Z have been this way. For example, relative to the relativity of how the suburbs were designed tactically to nature for the torture, extortion, and fact-cheating nature slavery of America's founders, where and how they got away with hiding that by using truths for lies, the way the breaching method employed them to be used, where no one had free speech, everyone had to pretend other as collusions. Otherwise, that body was sensed, even if that body was the majority of people, even if it was everyone. Because before modern countries, all groupings of humanity too were easily extorted and then self-valued roles with it, because this breaching method came from before modern religious messengers. And it was using a force, tricked, hurt, and persuaded people to defend themselves as fact-cheating nature, blaming other things, others, themselves. for what really caused the worst negative value nature progressions acts in nature. And then it had to defend that, and the breaching method did that to hide itself through the people it's hurting, which is A through Z. Every time they have these treatments regarding wars, regarding peace or war, they're both criminal insidiousness natures of positive and negative treatments and collusions to keep from discernment that which answers our questions, that which explains how reason, understanding, minds, and names are properly to be described, and motivations. So, in other words, offensively, each year, there are people that have been planting predicate acts that are connected leading up to the World Trade Center attack in that context and since. So we also have to note with world trade, others being and has been communicated for our founders regarding where and how the breaching method employed, economics and means and defenses of that syntactically incapable of defending itself and not self-valuing uses of those selves. Remotely, criminally foreign influence, tactically delusions raw, also to sense for the breaching method through our own, anyone using short words properly with convictions, formal or informal, because the difference between that, there are also collusions with that. All sides in criminal and civil cases increasingly have collusions at each age of fact-treating nature, where nature itself shows us. Each age has means to communicate and to perceive, that the lies and the delusions regarding formal syntax and use/s of them roles. So we're not going to leave out how we have black pupils, whites of eyes, the same color eyes, different color eyes, for the way nature shows us answers. It shows us it's a distinct identity of value progression that is also non-distinct from ourselves. It is also why and how there are other species volumes distinct from ourselves, but also non-distinct and simultaneously from ourselves, but also not they or I or us invented that, which is not us or them, but it is anyway. The identity of the hyper-simultaneous, for example, for science. And naming it brought up and brings up how nature teaches us about exceptions in exception nature, and about how it is functional. Nature shows us, communicates to us. It is functional how there is a distinct identity of hyper invisible but still discernible that comes with the invisible but still discernible. Parts of speech, for example, but this being where and how ancient languages had been revealed when they were appreciating where and how the sciences share an identity. It is the identity that groups boxing, martial arts, and wrestling in demonstration of itself. The identity the sciences share. And boxing, martial arts, and wrestling are about fighting, but by the rules. But the rules have been abridged since semi-ancient times. So where and how there is sick fighting and or sick natures of criminal insidiousness natures of peace uses, those are evidences we have to be able to have free speech to be able to get through. But see, there is identity theft, fraud, slander against each person, sickly distinctly. Otherwise, that body is sensed, including if it's a leader, no matter how powerful they get. Any group, even of any grouping of nations, because they came from locations, areas, and states. If you entertain locations, areas, and states policies and syntax policies, in other words, it's also mixed tactically delusions wrought too, as it would not be. You guys have communicated other for our founders than they communicated for themselves behind the plan of James Madison and to be recognized as James Madison. That's what I read. We were supposed to teach. And then my book was stolen from me by people involved with the intelligence community and foreign next to the campuses. See, there are rights to lie and directions to lie that are used, that the breaching method used show they could use behind, you know, to hide how they actually used location slash S, all formal identities, law and informal at the same time, because the difference between that was is also used by the hyper additional name slash S, beginning with the discernment of it as a breaching method, as a scientific value, as an answer, increasingly valuable relative to questions that nature itself shows us, like what causes slavery. A human fact-sheeping nature breaching method caused slavery. A predicate acts with facts delivery system method, and or the difference between that and a criminal insidiousness nature delivery system method. See, we have criminal insidiousness natures of um, motivations, pretending and ignoring people. So, in other words, the police and the courts have wire crime acts and methods and fake conversations with people at their locations where they are known to force qualities of fact-sheeping nature that can't defend themselves, and afford to be discerned. That which we are capable of, that nature of integrity and quality detail, like sequence. There are sequence shifts that are shared by people also used remotely by foreign and domestic military on Central Connecticut State University, as ones involved with the judges and prosecutors and their family members, as various different courts, and names on up to state corrections offices and state judicial branch offices, with a whole bunch of names that have been planting predicate acts on my street, as ones involved with Hartford Hospital too have been roles of wire crime, white mail crimes, falsified police reports, fake conversations with me, forging foreign and domestic names, where it can be observed remote uses of identities for the roles, remote criminally foreign influence uses of all formal and informal fact-checking nature. In other words, they've been lying to you guys about the World Trade Center attack. Always remember, they're using it to sense, as sense and sensibilities to sense for the breaching method. Please separate me and others from faked and changed conversations about the World Trade Center attack. And let's go, because there are more the same ones who have roles with that intercities and states. These are what not just Washington, D.C., Connecticut, and New York connected names, and Florida. They don't even understand themselves where and how at corners of streets, too. The FBI has roles at corners of streets near me. They have Russians and Ukrainian involved. They have Judge Napolitano's Facebook page. They're putting their self-valuing criminally foreign things in databases to tell lies to Judge Napolitano why and how he's ignoring me, with the police and courts refusing to identify themselves. All exceptions and exception nature that appear to be in demonstration of other come with demonstration of the same things. Vaccines, please get them on paper, one name and sequence. In other words, let's go.